let's jump into NVIDIA earnings. Daniel, why don't you help us break that down? Was it just another repeat out there of a rinse and repeat of what we've seen the last 5 quarters, or something?
Yeah.
Is there anything different to talk about?
I think so. But I won't. I'll try to leave you a little bit of breathing room here, Pat. I'll leave some water in the well. I got to change the analogy, so I can't keep talking about. I can't keep talking about just oxygen. Okay.
Right.
So I did have a couple of appearances across broadcasts, and I did write a Market Watch op-ed on this one. I'll put that up in the show notes. Look, I'm from Chicago, Pat, and even though I am moving to Austin, anybody that knows Chicago and anyone that grew up in the 90s like I did knows that us in Chicago enjoy a three-peat. So NVIDIA was going back to back to back now with record top-line results. And its guidance is pointing to another quarter of record breaking. So you're basically going to see a company go a year straight of blowing out record revenues in its biggest business units and overall for the business. So Pat, the highlights are all in enterprise data center and gaming. There were some, subtle successes. ProViz had a really good quarter. Also, OEM had this big jump in its number. It's a smaller category for the company, but based upon its CMP, its mining products. But in the data center, we saw $2 billion plus, 79% growth. And in the gaming area, we saw $2.76 billion, 106% growth, Pat. But I'm going to actually go a little different direction and leave you to talk a little bit more about those particular categories. The two big things that I think happened in and around earnings. First of all, NVIDIA announced a stock split that's going to happen on July 20, going 4 for 1 in its stock, taking its price down in the 150 to 200 range, depending on how quickly it keeps going up. Very interesting item to watch for people out there that follow the company and investors, because it suddenly becomes a really juicy prospect to be added as part of the Dow 30 component. Something I'm super duper interested in. Second thing, on the earnings call, the company had mentioned that its ARM deal is moving along, and it is moving along in a way that the company feels comfortable saying on the earnings call that its expected close in the first quarter of 22 is still on the table. My op-ed, I said, $1 trillion potential valuation associated if the ARM deal gets done. Okay, and in this last quarter, the company announced a new product called Grace. It's not going to come out till 2023. It's an ARM-based CPU at the ultra high end, not really even comparable to most of what you think of when you think of a CPU. But what the company did essentially say with this announcement is we are a 3-pronged semiconductor company. Now, we are GPUs, which the company absolutely rocks that particular business line. DPUs, which is the data processing side, to basically split off more of the specific types of workload that takes unnecessary resources off the CPUs and GPUs, data processing. And then the third is CPU, which it hasn't played in, and now it is. And now so I basically left it at this, Pat, and I'll let you take it from here. With or without the ARM deal, NVIDIA is going to go into CPUs, which is something notable. And with its revenue and its trajectory and its $6.3 billion guidance for next quarter, by the way, another $600 million in added revenue is expected for the next quarter. This company's on a heck of a trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? The company crushed it, and I think the things that I'm looking for, first off, that gaming number is obscene. It's obscenely good. I mean, it's twice what it was a year before, and the company's very clear. They don't know how much is crypto and how much is gaming, and I think there's a lot of gaming and there's a lot of crypto. It is nice to see. I think the litmus test will be with its LHR, lower hash rate, limited hash rate products that it's bringing out, plus its CMP line that came in at $155 million this quarter to get a better sense of what real gaming is in real life. By the way, the only reason that matters is about the future and what they look like and what it looks like. When Bitcoin mining was done on a GPU, we saw a 50% reduction in the gaming numbers when it moved to an ASIC, and that's just something that people need to really keep in mind. The one thing I'll say about Grace is, I think you're right, Daniel. Irrespective of the ARM deal going through, NVIDIA's been in the CPU market forever. They have one as a part of their gaming platform with Nintendo. On the console, they have a part of it in their multiple variations of auto solutions. But what they haven't created yet is a world-class beating general purpose CPU. Grace is not that, because when you look at the spec int on that and what that would drive with general purpose, you're looking at more like what a processor from AMD and Intel would have done in 2019. And by the way, NVIDIA would agree. I'm not slapping them around here. I think that's what the data shows, and they were very clear. And that's because for many type of workloads, when it's heavy GPU, the CPU is a controller. So I get that. I do think if this goes through, Intel and AMD better watch out, because they're coming straight at that revenue and profit pool of money for x86 PC and x86 general purpose data center market, which is at least a $200 billion opportunity.
Absolutely. And hey, I know we don't kick back and forth, but just let me be clear, Pat. First of all, that's a great assessment and a great ad. I by no means was saying that this first one is going to put the company on the radar and make them a readily able competitor across the general purpose CPU space. But what I do believe, Pat, was it was a clear sign of intent that it no longer, whether the ARM deal is completed or not, is going to stay out of the quote unquote CPU space. And that could be even as a licensee. But I from what they're saying, sounds like the deal is going in their direction, at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah. And by the way, for our viewers out there, if you are paying attention here, it costs around $1 billion to fund your own grounds up processor if you take an architectural license, and that includes test units and everything. That is the rule of thumb out there. You can do it for a couple $100 million if you're licensing the technology and don't get too nutso about it. But it's going to cost you $1 billion. It's going to cost you $1 billion to do your own leading edge CPU from the grounds up.